Talk to Bob Goff of QuincyJournal.com and WT80 News. Bob, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so we've got big time news locally that we want to talk about regarding someone that's near and dear to the heart of this show. Go ahead, Bob. I'll allow you the honors.
After 27 years, the Great River Economic Development Foundation announced this morning that Jim Menteste would be retiring as president effective Friday. He will serve as a consultant. He will serve as a consultant in the interim while they try to hire a new president. But along with his being a consultant, Phil Conover will be the interim president. And they hope to bring someone aboard, a new leader, sometime in the spring of 2013.
Well, wait a minute. So the spring of 2013?
Yes.
Well, my goodness, that's like right around municipal election time.
It is. You're not a believer in coincidence? You don't see this as divine providence?
It deals with Greta. There's nothing divine
Maybe
about it.
whoever loses the election, see it as divine.
No. You have taken this a step too far. You're assuming that a certain individual would run. But if there's a job already lined up, what would be the point of it?
Of course, we're talking about Quincy Mayor John Spring, who has yet to commit to running for a third term, to seek a third term as mayor.
And it's not because he's term limited out.
No, not at all. He can run
This is his
as long
choice.
as he wants, yes.
Yep, okay.
You know, I've worked the phones ever since the Menteste announcement came down this morning. I will be speaking with Greta officials here in about 35 minutes. You know, is John Spring in line as a possibility to succeed Jim Menteste? Well, that will be a question that will be asked today. Of course, I will ask the mayor, but I'm going to ask the Greta board chairman Tim Finley of ADM, as well as the interim president Phil Conover. So it's an interesting dynamic. In the news release this morning, they said a year ago they began to kick around how the succession was going to work. And everybody kind of went, okay. Figured it was just a lip service kind of deal. Apparently not, because now a year later, Menteste's out. It has been discussed a lot. His salary, which was never a public issue until, quite frankly, I started making it so about 4 years ago. The fact that they do have to file a 990 form to the IRS, and of course nonprofits have to do that, so you know you can find out how much money some of the people make who run the nonprofits. And I felt it was something worthwhile to look at. His salary has escalated quite a bit over the last 5 years. I want to say it's increased by about 20%. It's his total compensation package, including benefits, which includes a car, which includes his salary at all, is pushing $150,000.
He could be superintendent of Quincy Schools for that kind of money.
Close.
Okay.
My contention is I always wondered how the Greta job paid more than the mayor's job, but you know the mayor's job pays about 91, I think.
Life must be good.
Yeah. So. The one thing to talk about is, okay, who's next? You know, they are not going to say, well, they're obviously not going to say a name. They're not going to say if they're looking at John Spring. They're not going to say if they're looking at Sean Seacrease. They're not going to say who they're looking at. They're going to say, I
think they would probably
who is the guy you want. Not that guy.
Not that guy right there.
I would think that they will look. They are going to say, here's the kind of person we want, and kind of give a form description of that, and then we'll see where they go with it. A lot of interesting names already being kicked about. I think there's a couple of guys on the board who are currently on the board who might throw their hats in the ring, but I really don't know yet.
You have a commenter here suggesting that it might be Chuck Bevelheim.
Yeah, he's on the board. That's one of the ones that was discussed in the comments. Obviously, I have not heard Chuck's name bantied about by any of the sources that I've discussed this with this morning. Again, you know, John Spring's name was the first name that a couple of people did pop up.
Well, he's a favorite of the conspiracy theorists.
Right, and I don't know if he's interested in that or not. I don't know if he wants to run for mayor. I mean, he really hasn't said, and he doesn't have to say until November.
Do we have to be fearful for the Great River community right now. Without a development president for the next 6 to 8 months, this is a crucial time in our economic development. Are we going to be leaderless, just sheep lost in the desert?
I'm sure, Mr. Conover will provide a steady hand of leadership through this transition with Mentesti in a consultant role by his side.
All right, Illinois is already 50th economically out of the 50 states, and if we lose that
and my point of contention is
star that we all follow.
That's why this organization has to try harder and not do some of the things it's done or some of the things it has not done. Remember when Caterpillar said, "Hey, we want to put a new plant somewhere." This organization, the city, did not act on that. They were supposedly told, well, they want to find a place with near an ocean, and they ended up going in the heart of Georgia or something. So again, I think it's a little different, especially when you've got the job climate next door that Missouri's got, and Missouri's doing great things over there in terms of recruiting.
And if you go the other way to Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not an easy job, but it is a job that they have to do. The whole Gardner Denver corporate headquarters departure, which the Greta officials were taken by surprise with. They admitted that. It's like, I don't know how you can be surprised by something like that, but that was the case. So I certainly hope that these folks have their fingers on the pulse a little better than I think they've had in the past. You had the Fitzpatrick brothers, Prince Agri Products opening facilities down in the South Quincy bottoms. That's going to be that's Greta's big claim to fame over the last decade. Yes, that was a nice thing, but Fitzpatrick brothers actually came because Huber was already here. And Prince Agri Products, I mean, they had a place here, they had a place in Iowa, had a place in Indiana, I think it was, and so they just had to pick one. And they picked us because of the river and the access, which is something that, the Greta folks say they've been selling for years. And to tout the region's economic development, Quincy's low unemployment rate, well, Quincy does have a lot of long established manufacturers that has helped, but Quincy also has a very healthy non-for-profit community that provides people jobs, and that also, I mean, you got Blessing Hospital providing a big chunk of people's jobs as well. You've got Blessing, Titan Wheel, Knapide, the school system. You've got some pretty big employers right there. It's a good, strong base. So I think that's why we've always been kind of on that low rung for the last 20 years. We're not like, Brown County's always had the lowest unemployment rate in the state, and I've always kind of thought that was kind of a joke, is the fact that, okay, yeah, well, let's see, you've got a prison and Dot Foods. So, yeah, and you've got, about 3,000 people who are in Brown County.
And a population.
Yeah, so let's not, and your farming community, you got those three things. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, of course you're going to have, if Dot will never move because that's where those traces are all from, but, and they've done a great thing. They've been a hugely successful growing company. But while the unemployment rate has been low, our workforce has been dwindling. The population has been stagnant, and we have had, along with Gardner and Constant Products and some of these other ones, we've had some high-profile jobs that have bolted. You've got to, when you're going to be the guy who's going to stand up and take credit for, bringing another fast food joint out on the East End, you're also the one guy who's got to answer some questions as well about why is this company leaving? Why wasn't more done to retain them?
Now that's a great line of thought, and I want to get your thoughts on this. How stringently do you hold accountable someone who is the leader of Greta? It's not an elected position, and it's a not-for-profit. I mean, how stringent should we be with someone who is tasked with leading that group?
Well, they did get a healthy chunk of their money from government grants. I don't remember the numbers exactly because I hadn't looked at it for a while, which I'm going to do for the research for the follow-up story I'm doing later today. But it's still a significant amount of their money comes from government grants. And then the rest of their money comes from the memberships of the businesses who join Greta. But they get more, their revenue primarily is government money. It is grant money.
So you get public and private money.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the majority of it comes from public coffers.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's something you want to look at and say, I think they need to be held accountable. I've been on, and plus you not only have, I think it's $250,000 in grant money, plus 70. It was 75 grand from Quincy and like 60 from the county or something like that. Of course, the city whacked them by about 10 grand this last go around. So I want to say they get about 130 from the city, 130 grand from the city and the county combined. So they're accountable for that. And I've been long been an advocate, even though I know the people who, who say, well, we don't want government involved in things. I'm sorry, but if I'm the city and I'm the county and I'm paying this chunk of money, I want a more active role in the board, and I want more of a say and control on who's going to be the next guy. If I'm the city and county, I'm already talking to Tim Finley, the GREDF board chair, to say, we're going to meet right now and talk about how we're going to change this thing.
But I mean, aren't they going to probably yank more funding in the future, wouldn't you assume?
What I would do is this. I would say, look, the city has an economic development committee and a fund, which is made up of it's a public-private mix. You have a lot of business leaders on that. We also have revolving loan fund. The county, same thing. We have a revolving loan fund. We each contribute a significant chunk of money to GREDF. Let's figure out a way to marry these things to make it to where we have a little more oversight and accountability to what goes on in the GREDF offices. If I'm the city and county, I'm going to get together on this and say, hey, let's meet with GREDF. John Spring and Mike McLaughlin should call Tim Finley and say, okay, we want to meet. We want to talk about the future of this organization. And if you want us to continue to contribute to GREDF at the level we are contributing, these are the things we need. These are the changes we want made. And if so, and if GREDF says great, it says so great. But if not, if I'm the city, I'm the county, I'm going to kill my funding, and I'm going to say, you know what, we're going to create our own economic development arm that is accountable to someone.
All right, there you go. The more to come on this story. Obviously, Bob will be following it throughout the day and get some reaction from some other folks, and that'll all be up at QuincyJournal.com. One other thing I want to touch on real quick. Petition filing is now taking place, or not filing, but people can take out petitions now for municipal elections. Speaking of that, what are we looking at? What's kind of the update so far?
Well,
in the city of Quincy.
Right, Kyle Moore for mayor. We also have incumbents and city assessor Roy Points, treasurer Peggy Krim, and clerk Jenny Hayden, all Democrats. The township supervisor for general assistant Steve Schrage is not running for re-election. His deputy Cindy Brink will run for that position. Would not declare party affiliation, so she doesn't have to till November apparently. And then of course we have two Republicans running for third ward alderman apparently. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Tom Ernst, of course, longtime park board member, running against Jared Holbrook, who Jared has never run for an elected office before. He's a driver for FedEx, and he has basically been recruited by Moore and Havermehl to do this. So very interesting dynamic there in the fact that you've got two Republicans who may vie for this seat in a primary. You never know, though. The petitions haven't been turned in; they've just been taken out. I talked to both men yesterday. They both expressed a desire to serve, and I think that's the one thing to look at is, a lot of times, the smoke-filled. I've never been a fan of the smoke-filled room. So the people who say we should all get together and decide who our guy is, like a lot of the Republicans have been doing for mayor, it's ridiculous, and that's a complete antithesis of what this country's all about. If you have two people who want to get in the arena and share ideas and want to lead, then they should both do that and let the voters decide who the better candidate is. Same way with this deal. If Tom Ernst and Jared Holbrook both want to say, hey, we want to be aldermen, we want to make a difference, we think we each have our own ideas for this, then great. Let's have an election and let people decide. Again, not a big fan of the backroom deals and the smoke-filled rooms.
Unless you're a Missouri and Todd Akin's your candidate. And then